I don't know about you, but I need more joy, laughter, and love right now. And where I tend to find those things, I mean, in addition to family and friends, Hallmark movies. Do you too? Like, I mean, they're corny, they're cheesy, they're ridiculous, but they're also so good. I mean, to me, sometimes something is so bad that it can feel so good, but also I just love love. And Hallmark movies have all those things. There's also like a formula. If you're not familiar with Hallmark movies, let me give you just like a quick idea of what they're like. So you usually take an accomplished young woman, usually late 20s, early 30s, for some reason, and by some miracle, she's already at the height of her career, like in a big city somewhere in America. And she has a very specific look. There's a Hallmark movie look for men and women. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google it because it's kind of hard to describe, but when you see it, you know it. So, very accomplished young woman at the height of her career, living in a big city. Sometimes she's dating someone, maybe she might be actually be engaged, but then she's not happy. And then there's an emergency back home. She comes from a small town. So she goes there, or maybe there's a challenge from work that sends her to a small town. It's always a small town somewhere in America. So she goes there, and then sometimes she rekindles like a romance with like an old flame, like from high school, college, or whatever, usually high school, or a stranger, complete stranger. And initially they hate each other, they cannot stand each other, they just like, like this. But then everybody's seeing that they're made for each other. Never mind that she already has a flame back home, right? Or maybe sometimes she can be, also single, but a lot of the times in those stories, she has somebody in her big city. And so big emergency back home or challenge that she has to accomplish for work. So she stays there and then she realizes that, oh, my life is here. Goodbye. By the time the movie is over, um, never mind the big city, the small town is where it's at. So that's usually the formula. And so let's say the run time is 2 hours. Like let's take into consideration the commercials, and you have maybe 1 hour 45 minutes of movie. And by let's say the movie is supposed to end at 2 p.m. At 1:45, 1:40 to 1:45, you have this big argument between the two leads, but like really nasty, oftentimes comes from a very bad misunderstanding, but a big fight. And another miracle. By the end of the movie, 15 minutes later, all is well. Never mind what happened. Sometimes they really go far in those arguments, but 15 minutes later, 15 Hallmark minutes later, it's all good and they're kissing. I mean, kissing. Let's talk about that. So, what I want to do today is talk about my top 5 pet peeves when it comes to Hallmark movies. And let's say because right now it's like a marathon, they're on all the time, Christmas edition of Hallmark movies. Some of those pet peeves apply to other movies and series and well, whatever, but Hallmark has all of those and a lot more. So let's start with number 5. Again, before I start, this is a top 5. You can actually shuffle 1 to 5 because they're they're pet peeves. So I'm bothered, and I'm gonna have some more at the end, like honorable mentions. And I would love to hear about yours. So let's start with number 5. Okay, number 5, the children. Whenever they have children, so let's say it's usually the lead man who has a kid and he's like a widow or he's divorced, but usually he's a widower. And he has a kid, and usually, very young one. But for some reason, the kids in Hallmark movies are always smarter and wiser than the adults. Like light years. It's absolutely ridiculous the way they speak. Like they've already understood everything about life without having lived any life. And it's really contrasted by the fact that the parents behave like silly kids, like a lot of the times. I know love makes you do silly things, but come on. So those kids are like, they know what's best for everyone. They know how to get it done. And to drive the point home, a lot of the times the kids, especially young boys, have glasses. Because then you see them and you're like, oh, this is a smart one. And they always end up being super smart. So that's one pet peeve. Sometimes I would love to have like one kid that's really like a kid, and he's like, no, I don't want you to be with my mom, or I don't want you to be with my dad, like, at least for a little bit, and then they switch around. But usually it's like, yeah, 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 they're pushing, for the dad or the mother to be with like their teacher. How inappropriate, but that's another story. So that's number 5. Okay, then number 4, the lead lady, because the man usually, actually, yeah, because I said the lead woman is usually the ones who comes from the big city into the small town. The leading man is already in the small town. I actually don't remember seeing the opposite scenario. So let's stick with that. So when that high powered executive from the city comes into the town, whether it's for the holidays because there's an emergency, or just because she's spending time with her family, or because she's taking care of like uh, she's on a mission for work. She comes into town with this small suitcase, like the carry-on type, where you can barely fit anything. Well, I mean, if you're smart with your packing, you can fit quite a bit, but let's say it's for a weekend. Those carry-on are supposed to be for like the weekend, but usually they stay on much longer than that. And also you can tell they're empty, but that's another story also. But let's say they actually have stuff in it. They have this little carry-on, and they're there for like 10 days, sometimes 2 weeks. And every single day, lady is wearing something different from head to toe, including the coat. And you're like, where did you get all that? Like, she's not shopping. That's her stuff. And you're like, okay, teach me your ways, because I don't, like, where does all that stuff comes from? And like, you can see it when she's like unpacking. Sometimes when they see it, there's nothing in the suitcase. Like, there's like a few pair of socks and then a few pants, but then every single day, head to toe, coordinated, everything. And also, I have to say, those ladies never pack the right pair of shoes. Like, absolutely, like they're going somewhere where it's super, super cold. I'm talking about the Christmas edition of Hallmark movies, and they always go somewhere where it's super cold, it's snowy, it's icy, and they're wearing heels on the sidewalk, on those like different paths and all that, and never slip. That could be actually like a nice meet cute, like you're walking in the street and then up you slip, and then there's like a handsome man who just grabs you before you fall or whatever. Never seen this one, but they're just like steady on their feet. Like, they have to teach me their ways for that too, because in real life, that black ice is gonna take you out in a second. That happened to me. So that's a very bad one. But I need to know how they pack those, all that stuff in those very small carry-on. Okay. Number 3. I was about to do. Okay. Number 3. 3. Okay. So the car windows. Again, Christmas edition. So every time they go to the small town and they're driving through, like, it's the dead of the winter, and whether she landed somewhere and then she's being driven from the to the airport to the town, or she's actually driving from wherever she comes from to the town or whatever. What's up with all the windows being down in the dead of the winter? What's up with that? I mean, every single time, it never fails. So I just don't get it. But also, whenever they talk, it's supposed to be super, super cold. And they tell you all the time, it's super, super cold. It's freezing. Oh my God. They make the gesture and all that. But they never properly like dress. But also, there's no breath. You cannot see the winter breath when they're talking. Nothing. Also, you can tell the snow is fake, like when it on the air, on like the hair, and even just around you, like it's like I don't know what they use, but you can tell that's not actual snow, which feels a bit, ridiculous. But it's like Hallmark, so you give it a pass. But I mean, the windows down, mm-mm. And then the lack of, you know, breath, like this steam coming from your mouth, showing that it's actually cold. We need to see that. And then the other thing is that they love talking, like in the uh, what you call that? On the doorstep. Just come in. It's cold. It's supposed to be freezing. Why are you talking on the doorstep? I mean, of a house, right? I'm not talking like you're in the building and you're no, like makes no sense. But anyway, but just in general, overall, Hallmark has a hard time making the seasons actually season. When they're saying it's the fall, when they go all out with the leaves, like the changing of the colors, but you can tell that you have some greenery somewhere. You can see around it, like when you really pay attention, but you can really see it when it's supposed to be winter. Like, come on, come on. Number two, the lies. I cannot stand the lies. And I mean, sometimes they really go overboard with that because the whole point is that, I told you at like 45 minutes, 15 minutes before the end of the movie, there's supposed to be this huge argument. So that's when the big lie is revealed. But sometimes there's like the lie that starts at the beginning of the story, and then you keep adding lies on top of the lie on top of the lie, and you're like, just tell the truth. Like, what are you doing? Why did you keep digging into the lies? Like, it's just ridiculous. So I just, in general, I find that really off-putting. And when they overdo it, because it's like that person lies about everything, and then everybody in their life is in on the lie, you're like, come on. And then because once that argument happens at 15 minutes from the end of the movie, you're like, how are you going to just get over all those lies from like you know that makes no sense. Like, so let alone the fact that regardless of what the misunderstanding is, those 15 minutes, like when they resolve the thing, they feel so rushed. They're not solving anything. They're just going from this to this, and then the kiss. That's all. And they live happily ever after. But that's Hallmark for you. Okay, number one. Number one. This one is really, because also the fact it bothers me so much because that could be so easily solved, and it feels so unnecessary. Those empty cups. The go-to cups, like the coffee cups. And they love drinking their coffee. When they're in their city, or we're in their small town, they're always taking coffee to go. When they're sitting down, you can see sometimes there's some liquid in it. But when they're drinking outside, first of all, as soon as they get the cup, they start drinking. Have you ever had one of those coffees or a tea at like one of those stores? There's a reason why they tell you, they give you the warning that it's really hot, because it's really, really hot. And those people are just like, as soon as they get the cup, no way, no way. But then also you can tell it's empty. And it's so ridiculous. I mean, I don't know, put some cold water in it so that there's some weight to it, or sand or whatever. Put something in it. Because this is just, so this is really like, I don't know, maybe for some of you, you're like, no, it doesn't matter. It's not, but for me, every time I see it, I'm like, no, come on, come on. Okay, so that was my number one. But like, as I said, you can shuffle them. Like, all of them are just annoying. Now, for the um, honorable mentions, I forget the words. I'm sorry. Honorable mentions. Okay, there seems to be really like a big city hate. Like, it's okay to tell the very accomplished young lady is not going to end up in the big city, but you don't have to crap on the big city like that. I mean, big cities are beautiful. They might not be ideal for your entire life, but they're good for some people, and we need them, and they're there. So why do you need to crap on them like that? I don't know. I don't like that. Emotional cheating, like that happens so much every time the leading lady is coming like from her big city, and she has a boyfriend or a husband, or usually it's not a husband, it's usually like a boyfriend, or just a fiance, which is already like, I mean, you're committed, But then, as soon as she gets into town, everybody's encouraging the emotional cheating, if not the other type of cheating. And you're like, what's going on? And then for some reason, the the jilted lover, that the boyfriend or the fiance, once he finds out that, okay, because sometimes he makes a surprise appearance and like, oh, just wanted to surprise you, so he comes to the small town to see uh his dear love, and then turns out she's met somebody else. So, and it's always like, oh, okay, I guess we're not meant for each other. That's it. Let alone, never mind that she was cheating emotionally, or even more, maybe on you the whole movie. I thought Hallmark was supposed to be wholesome. I mean, maybe that's just me, but yeah, that's not good. Oh yeah, the leads when they meet, regardless of how the thing happened in the beginning, how they met, whether they don't like each other or they knew each other from the past and they think they're just friends or whatever. Within 10 Hallmark minutes, they start getting jealous. As soon as the other person is talking to somebody else, especially the lady from the when she comes from the town, and she's ready to just burst into flames, and you're like, time out, lady. What are you doing? What are you doing? That's just ridiculous. How come everybody lives in like a $1 million apartment or $1 million mansion? $1 million apartment in the city, $1 million mansion in the small town. Like, how did they do that? Wholesome, realistic, and all that? Nah, not in Hallmark universe. So that's another one. Okay, the other thing is, like, that argument that I told you about that gets solved within the last 15 minutes. Oftentimes it happens because the lead uh, woman overhears, she overheard like a part of a conversation that the lead man was having, and she misconstrues it because she didn't stay long enough. First of all, why are you, you're eavesdropping on people's conversations? But also, if you're going to do that, just stay until the end. But no, otherwise, it wouldn't fit the Hallmark movie formula. So you have to stay up until the moment where you're like, oh my God, that's it, I'm packing. He's done. I hate him, whatever. But then, in 15 minutes, you'll be all good. So it's just ridiculous. And also, in that same vein, those weak attempts at stopping someone who wants to leave, like, wait, 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 wait. They never say wait loud enough for the person. I mean, the person is supposed to hear it if it's like in real life. But in Hallmark movies, they never do. Even if you're 2, 3 steps like behind that, they're not gonna hear it. You need to see it, honestly, right? But they're not gonna try to, grab you even by the shoulder. I'm not talking about like grabbing someone violently to make them stay. But like if you really want to stop someone from leaving and actually tell them, hey, no, this is not what you think or whatever. You're not going to be like, you might as well just whisper. I mean, that's what they do. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, so this is my top 5. And I'm really interested to hear about yours. It doesn't have to be all about Hallmark movies, but maybe like movies in general or um, series, whatever. But if you have some of those with the Hallmark universe, I would love to hear about those. And so it was all in fun because I'm going to continue to watch those because they make me feel good. They bring joy, laughter, and love. So I encourage you to watch if you just want to laugh, because honestly, they're going to make you laugh. Oh wait, I actually forgot one of the biggest ones, and I don't know where to put it now because it just crossed my mind. I don't know why I missed it because it's like actually like one of the worst. It's like the almost kiss between the two leads, like the very first one, always gets interrupted by like a phone call or a text message, something like that, or somebody calling somebody's name. And so they're like, interruption. And you're like, if you really wanted to kiss, there's no phone call, there's no text message, there's nobody calling your name who's gonna make you. Well, maybe somebody calling your name if they're in the same room. Maybe this. Okay, I'll give you that one. But the other two, come on, come on. If you really want it, and then as soon as the phone stops ringing or whatever, just continue. Just go with it. Why do they stop altogether? Nah, I'm not buying this. I'm not buying this. So That was a big one. This time, we're done. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.